We're recording.
Okay, I will call the meeting of the Green Bay Economic Development Authority to order. We'll start with roll call. Sikich is here. Borley?
Yeah, I'm here. I think my vote came through.
Yep. Alderman Johnson?
Here.
Eric Genrick?
Here.
Pam Parrish is excused. Mohammed Raghi?
Here.
And Michael Peel?
Here.
Okay. Next item, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, or to approve the agenda from our last meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Borley, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Johnson.
Wait
Any
one
discussion?
second. Can we have him, I think he,
Mike, you can participate by just listening, but you actually can't make motions via proxy.
So moved.
Oh, okay.
So you
that's
can still
fine.
participate in the
You're
cut-
not there for a quorum though, right?
We still have a quorum in person, so you're welcome to participate. We just can't have you,
Okay.
vote, unfortunately.
So I heard moved by Johnson, seconded by Genrick. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our June 11th meeting. Moved by Johnson, seconded by Genrick. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Regular business. Consideration with possible action regarding policies and procedures for the Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund. Wendy.
I'll take that. In front of you, you will see a list of, can you hear me okay, Mike?
Yeah, I'm just following a page. What's the 14 pages you're going through?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have we have a couple of economic development resources for people in small businesses to help with gap financing. So we have our Community Development Revolving Loan Fund, which funds come through the Housing and Urban Development piece. This is something new. In 2017, so last year, the Economic Development Department applied for additional funds coming from the Excise Stadium Tax Fund and asked if we could put together a minority and business-related revolving loan fund. So we're going to call this one our Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund. And if you see on page 2, item 1.1, the introduction roughly is said that we received $200,000 in city's excess stadium tax revenues for the purpose of establishing a minority and women-owned business economic development revolving loan fund program. Kind of a mouthful, but it serves a great purpose in our community. We're really excited to add this as one of the responsibilities for the EDA to oversee. And so the Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund program will be administered by this authority. And then there's a manual here for the funds. It's going to be pretty well formatted, very similar to our other revolving loan funds, so it won't be real new other than we'll be focusing on businesses that meet our special criteria for this loan. The loan will be citywide. They can apply for $100,000 at the minimum, and $10,000 at the minimum and $100,000 at the maximum. And pretty much all of the regular formatting would be there. You can see by the guidelines, we pretty well follow the same eligibility, things that are pieces to that. I also added in tonight's loan packet the underwriting guidelines that I follow, and then any of the items that I use in helping decide if the criteria of the loan, if the loan application fits the spirit of the loan, so that we make sure that we're in alignment with that. So those are the pieces that we'd like you to take a look and review, and I'm welcome to ask any questions, but after we approve this, we already have a loan waiting in the wings for approval, so this is pretty exciting that we already have one that's very much interested in this, and it's a minority woman-owned business. So, yes.
I do have a few questions, Wendy, and I'll give you my notes after this, just a couple of easy grammar things
Okay.
to take care of. But section 2.1, correct me if I'm wrong, but right now the CDRLF, is it required that an alder sit on that committee?
I believe we have, yes, we have an alder person on that.
Well, I know that I'm on it.
Yes.
But is it a requirement that an alder be on it? And if so, since we're specifically calling out how many from EDA, how many from RDA? Should we specifically call out that an alder will also serve on that?
I think we should, because on the previous loan, we didn't have to go to the council for approval because we had all representation at the loan committee level. Sometimes there's a lot of financial disclosed and a lot that we go into closed session for, and we wanted to have a voice from all of the entities that would have a concern with us granting funding to any project. And so to have the alder there is definitely something we would like on this.
Okay.
So we will add that to it. Thank you.
2.1, item number 4, which talks about the forgiveness of a loan in the event that it's defaulted. Does that require council approval, or is that authority that rests exclusively with the Revolving Loan Fund Committee?
We have brought that forward to Revolving Loan Fund Committee only. That could be up to the committee to decide if they would like to have it brought to full council as well.
Okay.
We've only decided that at the loan committee level.
Okay. And usually, I mean, this is all block grant dollars, right, which are usually administered by RDA. Is that accurate?
The other funds are, this is money that
This is
is,
not with sales tax.
this is different.
Okay.
This is a different pool of money.
Okay. I think what I'm doing is I'm just going to rattle off a couple other questions I have, but I would maybe like to circle back on that and get the rest of the
I'd be
committee's
happy to look at
opinion on
that.
that. Okay, and this, I don't, section 4.2, number 5, I just want to be clear, because this seems a little bit contradictory to the purpose of the loan. Is this verbiage that makes sense?
I think I had to add that in. I talked to the legal department and they asked that I put that in there.
And I get it, you know, but at the same time, it seems to conflict with the spirit of the loan program. So again, if legal's good with it, I'm good with it. It just struck me as an odd placement for that.
I can see your point. It looks, I mean, if it's funding for basically a minority-based businesses, if you apply that 5 paragraph, that would open up the door for non-minority.
I'm going to have her review
Yeah.
that.
If there's an additional sentence that can
I
be
think we
put in
need
there,
to
like
have
with
to-
the exception of. or-
There's clarification.
Right. Okay. 4.6, item number 1. We have the Broadway redevelopment area, Central Business District, I-43, all those called out. Should Military Avenue Business Association District, their bid district, also be included in this?
Yeah, they should.
Not necessarily this order, Broadway, Central Business.
We have it within the city areas, but of course we want to work on targeted areas.
Okay. And I just didn't know if there was a reason they were excluded.
Not in particular. Mm-mm.
Okay. Terms, 5.2, number 1. The interest rate is fixed at 4%. By sort of codifying it within this document, it kind of holds our hands there, or handcuffs us there. Does it make more sense to have this tied to prime, or is this, do you adjust that as needed? And again, I don't have the historical context here.
Previously, our other loan that we have is just a flat 4%, and
No matter what prime is?
no matter what prime is. This has just been a flat, it's been better than prime. If we notice that there is a fluctuation in percentages, which does happen in the market, if we do notice it, our lending, if we would find difficulty getting our funds out, we've been known to review our packet to find out if there's a better opportunity that we should be looking for. We have not had any difficulty getting the funds out. So this has
Okay.
been something that I followed through with both loans, but we could certainly make it differently. The only, in the Community Development Revolving Loan Fund, we have 4% fixed rate, and then we have 5% if it's working capital. So we have a one, that's the only difference in the percentages. And then the duration of the loan is a maximum of 3 years if it's a working capital. In our other loan, this is, we would tie it, we haven't really addressed much of the working capital portion of this. This is just a loan for the business.
Okay, and I wouldn't mind maybe some other perspective on that too. If people, I mean, look, if it's working, I get it, but as prime rate adjusts, I don't know if the committee has any flexibility to adjust that rate as they,
The committee actually has the ability to adjust those sorts of things, yes.
based on a application by application.
That's right.
Okay,
It has been on the.
as long as they've got
needs
the
basis.
prerogative, okay. Then I'm good with that. This one though, 6.5 under miscellaneous. This one kind of struck me as that. So it says additionally, no more than 20% of available funds may be awarded for working capital loans.
And this is-
Oh, sorry, it's under section 6, yeah, 6.5 miscellaneous. I'm just curious, so I get having no more than 25% of your total portfolio not exceed 25%, but to say that no more than 20% of available funds will be awarded for working capital seems to be kind of an arbitrary thing, and I would love to, I guess, maybe get staff's perspective on that.
I mean, I think we've discussed before, working capital, I mean, of all the investments, is probably the riskier of other types of investments. So in terms of like, look, if we're gonna be taking 100% of our fund, investing in different equipment, machinery, land, I mean, things where we probably, could have recourse versus working capital. Recourse is a lot more difficult. So I think by limiting of our total fund portfolio, only 20% of it is maybe a riskier investment. I think that's one of the things.
But
that
that's
we
what the 25%
discussed.
addresses.
No, that's for the business.
It's 20% of the total loans portfolio, so our total package, but then if we have a
Oh,
bunch
okay,
lent out, you
yeah.
only will take the other
Correct.
20%. So I would like to have it go into projects per se more than working capital, but it's not that we will not be open to working capital, but we want to limit the amount that's out there.
Yeah, and again, I support the 25%, but unless I'm misunderstanding what the no more than 20% of available funds, does that mean, so hypothetically, we're down to $50,000 because we've lent out the other 150? No more than 20% of that 50,000 can go towards it? And that's the part that just feels arbitrary to me, because now we're penalizing or rewarding people based on whether or not they apply early in the cycle or later in the cycle. I mean, if it's a good loan, it's a good loan. As long as it stays underneath that 25% threshold, we're sort of honoring our commitment to that diversification of the loan fund. Like when they, I mean, it just seems kind of odd to me that we're saying no, depending on when they apply.
Point taken, but I think that it's good to have it go to a project versus the working capital. And I think we're being sensitive to having it go to projects.
But the
If I may
25% still does
interject,
that.
This is similar to the revolving loan fund verbiage, and it's really to not necessarily save, but to Wendy's point, it's to, we don't want loans and the 20, it is a little confusing, 25%. If somebody borrows $10,000, we're only going to give them, 25% of that can go towards the working capital. But of the total picture, we don't want to give away the farm for working capital. We want to maintain some funds for projects. So that's kind of the thought process is to, and that, I don't know if it wasn't a number that was picked out of the, just kind of picked at. It's I think somewhat historical numbers that we used in the past, if I'm correct, Wendy.
Yeah, these were numbers that have been looked at, and this is what we are using right now in the Community Development Revolving Loan Fund. These same numbers, I kept them the same. And I know that the loan committee has discussed this. I think when Mike Vogel in particular was on our lending panel. So this is a
I'd love to hear
suggestion
some other
make.
feedback on it. Again, the 25% to me still seems to address the diversification issue. I mean, because we're still not gonna loan above 25% of the total portfolio. So to me, the 20% just seems to penalize people who might learn about this program later in the cycle.
It's really, am I missing something? It's 25% of the individual applicant's portfolio, not 25% of the total, but only 25% of the individual. So if somebody wants to borrow 50,000, only 25% of that 50 can go towards working capital. And the 20% is really what our funds are available, that we don't wanna bring it down past, we wanna save 20% of the total fund that we have, that the committee has available for new applicants.
See, and I'm
it's
not reading
really
it that
written
way,
like
Mike.
that.
Yeah.
It's not written like that. It's written that working capital loans shall not consist of more than 25% of the total loan portfolio. That's our whole loan portfolio. Additionally, no more than 20% of available funds may be awarded for working capital loans. So whatever I have in the kitty in year 2, we're gonna be careful that only 20% of those can go, so that we have enough for projects and are awarding some for working capital.
Okay, then I'm reading it wrong too. Because for instance, if an individual applies for a loan, we don't want the whole loan to be for working capital, so we capped it at, and I thought it was 25.
It is capped at 25.
For an
the
individual.
Individual applicant, but not the committee's money. Correct?
Our,
Commissioner Barley, I read it, I read it like, I believed it like you understand it, but I don't think that's not the way
It's
it's
not
written
written that way.
here. So
All right.
if that's the intent, then I think we need to work on some
We
language.
should start clean up the language then. All right.
Yeah, and if it's 25% of an application, no more than 20% of the total fund, I'm good with that, but what I don't like is if somebody's sort of penalized because they apply later in the cycle.
okay. They weren't here on day 1, they were here when it's further down.
Right.
So let's figure out language for that one.
So,
That makes sense.
so working capital loan shall not consist of more than 25% of any individual loan,
Any
Correct.
application.
any application. Additionally, no more than 20% of available loan funds, or maybe that's where you want to put 20% of the total loan portfolio, maybe awarded for working capital loans.
That,
Perfect.
I mean, is that the intent? I don't want to, if that's the intent, then we're.
look, whether it's the intent or not, I'll just make that motion.
Okay.
And then if it's approved, that would become the
I
intent.
like that. I'll second that motion.
Okay. Because I think, yeah, Commissioner Barley, to your point, like, you give 10,000 to a project, you don't want all that 10,000 working capital, okay,
Exactly.
cap it, but then,
Right. We can't, we have no way of securing working capital.
right.
Just a promissory note.
And that's work on the other end.
It really is.
Yeah.
And this wouldn't be a motion, but just to make sure that this is consistent with the language itself is actually consistent with the existing.
I want to make sure that, what we'll do is, next month we'll bring
Yeah.
the RLF forward, and I'll double check that they both have the same, since we've,
Yep.
it's another set of eyes this year, so this is good, and another set of thoughts, and so,
So do we actually need to approve that?
Well,
Let's
once you bring,
correct
do you want to
that.
bring it back, or do you want to correct it and then bring it back, and then we can,
Is there enough time to bring it back? Then
We
you
have
say you
time
have
to
an
bring it
I
application.
have the application in the works, so if we could make a motion to have that, we're gonna, maybe at the end, we'll adjust all of the additions.
Yeah, and I think some of the minor technical things that I brought up to this point, where I just needed clarification, I'm good, but that one seems to be more
Mhm.
A bigger
substantive in
one.
nature.
Okay, so let's, do you remember how the wording went? I was trying to get it.
Yep. Working capital loans, I'm sorry, working capital loan shall not consist of more than 25% of any individual loan
Application.
loan or application. And then additionally, no more than 20% of available funds, yeah.
Maybe awarded for working capital.
Yep,
Okay,
yep, yeah.
there we go. All
Okay,
right,
that clarifies, I think, what we're,
Yep.
so we'll put clarification on that. And the only other real language change, unless you have another one, was at 2.1,
Did-
add an all.
Did you guys want to take a vote on that, or is that?
well, were there any other changes that we need to really have a motion on?
Sure,
or-
just, maybe just two more items at least that I have here. 10.3 under late payments. It's first a question, is there any penalty if somebody pays late? My fear is if we don't have a penalty, we're incenting them to pay late. I don't think it has to be staff, but it,
How does the revolving loan fund work? If there's,
We work with them,
oh, you just work with them?
either negotiate other terms or figure out something, but if they're going into the 60-day time, we want to quickly capture them and figure out what is the new formulary. Either it's, maybe we do interest only for a little bit, or whatever it is, but we will work with them after that amount of time. So,
historically, have you seen, a high frequency of late payments?
if we've ever had anything where it's fell into the 60-day, we've worked with them and we've corrected that, unless we get where somebody just has closed their doors. I mean, there's, from time to time, we get and we don't know about it.
Our goal is still to get repaid, of course, because we get repaid, we can lend it back out. I think like any other lending institution, they put in penalties, because without a penalty right now, we're gonna be the last person that they choose to repay.
I agree.
Well, keeping in mind, guys, too, we're the last person that they can go to get money. It's really a gap financing. And it's a participation between the individual, the bank, and staff, and credit to Wendy and how they've been processing it. They've really flipped how in the past these loans have been applied for and brought to the committees. Now the banks work with the lender first and then bring the packet to the revolving loan fund committee. And I suspect that that would be the same for this particular project as well, for this account.
Yeah. And I'm not necessarily, Mike, advocating that we have to put the penalty in, so much as it is like, if it's been a habitual or historical problem, then I think we ought to talk about it. And so I'm okay if that's a modification we want to bring up later, if we,
I was gonna say, we could visit that later.
Yeah.
It hasn't really been a problem, to my
Not for the
understanding.
revolving loan
Yeah.
fund. If they're gonna go in default, of the 5% maybe historically of the loan that we went out, I'm just picking that number, and Wendy can verify how far off I'm at, but if they're default and we haven't been able to work with them, even though they've come to the committee and asked, we've done 6-month interest-free loans, and most cases that's helped and corrected any situations, but you're gonna get, hopefully not, but we're gonna get one or two that's going to, if they're going past 60 days, we're just not, you can put any penalty on you want, you're not gonna get it.
sure.
We usually call the loan and ask them to make full payment,
Mhm.
otherwise to make other payment arrangements. And usually they come in here and that's what we do.
Okay.
We just don't let it go past 60 days.
So under that same item then, and again, I'm good without adding a penalty, I just at least wanted to have the conversation. I do think, though, I would recommend, and I'm not going to ask that you change the wording, but it says here that we don't send a letter until 60 days, that we call them at 30. I'd still recommend that we still send them a letter at 30 in addition to the call. I think it's a simple thing that says, here are your options, this is what could happen if you don't bring your account current. I think it's a good communication practice. And then the last question that I had is, under default, and this is just a question, who determines ultimately if the loan, because it says that we may put it in default, who ultimately makes that determination? Is that staff or is that the committee?
Typically, I'll get notification of some sort that they're behind, and then I'll work with our legal department and find out if it's a true default between our accounting department and ED and our legal department, and then that would come to the committee at that level to decide how we're going to proceed.
And
at
we
this
have
point.
had defaults.
We have had-
In the past. Not a
Or
lot, but
we've had to
some.
make some succession, we'd have to make some agreement, like one, we wrote off a portion of it and we collected a portion of it, and then that business was sold. So depending on, we've taken them case by case.
Okay, thank you.
And generally, I think staff will declare the default, and then the committee decides the remedy or the cure.
Right.
We brought it to the committee and brought the person along to that committee, and then go into closed session and discuss how to move forward.
Okay, great. That's all I needed. Thank you.
Just a quick comment on that. I think the real lead on that is really the lending institution, the first position. And then the committee works with the first, with the lender as well as the loan application. In reference to the one that we did, it was a large one, and it came in to basically rescue the business, and we worked as a committee to make it all happen. So everybody gave a little bit, but the business stayed viable and actually expanded. So it was a win-win.
Do you want to go through the packet here and just say do there are changes, or do you want to go through and note them?
Well, there's only really a couple
So
that
on
are,
page 2, we're adding aldermanic representation to the loan committee for this loan review. On page 5, under 5, we're going to add clarification to include only minority businesses within this loan, to make sure that this is not contradictory. So I will have our legal team clarify that language. And then on page 7, under number 1, we will add Military Avenue to the areas of focus. On page 10, the miscellaneous, we're going to clarify that to say that working capital loans shall not consist of more than 25% of the individual loan application, or additionally, no more than 20% of available loan funds may be awarded for working capital loans. So the individual loan and then the whole loan portfolio clarification. And then on page 13, 10.3, we are going to have an additional letter sent at 30 days, and then one after 60 days declaring that we need to have full remittance and to meet with us to make an action plan moving forward. I think those are the revisions as they stand.
I guess I would entertain a motion to accept or to approve this policy and procedures manual with those specific changes that Wendy has described.
Second that.
My only concern is, I totally appreciate why we're going to make those changes on the discriminatory or non-discriminatory language, but we don't have specific language that are suggested.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yep.
So I don't know if that's appropriate.
I mean, I would look at that as what's the word we always use at RDA?
Like subject to legal
minor.
and technical clarification. And I think with that, one of the things that, back to Attorney Chavez, is that we can't really discriminate or prohibit anybody from applying for this loan.
Yep.
But we also understand that in terms of the criteria, when it comes to our wording, there's certain things that we're looking for. So we're not necessarily discriminating.
Right.
And I think it's just, working with the city attorney to get that language right. So I think if you have that motion, subject to minor technical
Subject
and legal
to-
clarifications.
That works.
We're not changing content, but we're basically finishing language so that it fits in the intent here.
Yep.
I think that's the intent that was taken here, is to make those.
I just hate to create a sticking point for someone who's told you can't apply for this because you don't meet the qualifications, and then they come back and say, but.
Yeah,
You
no,
know
I
what
totally
else?
appreciate the spirit of it. I just want to make sure it's concrete enough that it.
And there's other items listed in this disqualifying basis than what our spirit of our loan is about. So we're focused on minority-owned businesses, but there's also other factors of age and sex or physical condition. There's other items listed in this language that we probably still have to have in our own information.
Yeah, and that's why I'm good with it. I just want to make sure that the legal team doesn't feel like it's a conflict. Right.
Okay, so I'll have legal review that for.
And I guess as part of the motion, it would be subject to legal review.
Is that all right with everyone?
There's a motion.
Second.
Seconded by Genrich. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Very good.
Thank you. Was it something, Mike?
Yep, good. That was good input.
Okay. Item E, informational, Brownfields program update. There it is.
All right, this is me. Mike, I sent you an email with a link to view this PowerPoint presentation. Did you happen to
Okay.
receive that recently in the last 5 minutes?
Well, let me look.
It should have gone to your Gmail.
Oh, you know, I should have you update that too, all right, here it is.
All right. So, here just a quick little PowerPoint on how we've been doing with our Brownfields grant program. This here is just the first slide is just kind of an overview of our budget currently. We are approaching our 1-year anniversary of this grant program. It's a 3-year grant. Started in 2017. So we are about 1 year in, and as you can see from that far right column, we are blowing through our funds. Phase 1 environmental site assessments, we've already spent 96% of our budget. We're at 67% for phase 2s, 72% with community outreach. Overall, we're about 72% spent with this grant program. Luckily, if we run out early, we can reapply early as well. So we are looking probably at applying at this next grant cycle. I've kind of talked about our projects before in the past. I'll provide a little bit more detail here. Starting with the rail yard. This site, as you're all probably familiar, the former Larson Green Cannery. And a rail yard also. So along with that, you usually find some level of contamination, which we've had here. With this particular grant, we've only invested about a little less than $4 grand in remedial action planning, which they've already put to use. I don't know if you've driven by that site on Broadway recently, but they are working on that northern warehouse building. They've already got windows punched out on all 3 stories, so they're moving right along. Although we're investing only about $4 grand into this project with our grant, that should leverage about 16 million with a new property value for this site as a whole, which is really exciting. This is just a shot of the proposed townhomes that should be located on that far eastern side of the property. In other news, WIDA recently announced funding for, or tax credits for the Broadway Lofts project. And that will be an additional, how many units?
107.
107 affordable apartments for this site. So, chugging along and very successful. Probably, if I had to guess, probably bring that 16 million up a little bit more.
Yeah,
This
for
next
sure.
one, yeah.
Mhm. And I think some of those that we're looking at were just really for the first phases of the project. I mean, that's kind of what we've got in the queue based on development agreements. There's still a lot of acreage yet to develop there.
Right. Moving ahead forward, 901 Main. This is actually a former bar. I think previous to that it was a gas station. The contamination issues here are fairly minimal. Typically it has to do with the historic fill that we find in this part of town that has PAHs typically. Here we've done a phase 1, phase 2 environmental site investigation, supplemental investigation. We've also spent some funds on remedial action planning. All in, we're about $33,000 invested with our grant dollars. And with this, we are expected to leverage about 2.3 million in new property value. This site is, Garrett Bader is proposing doing a project here, 3-story building, mixed use, retail on the main floor, underground parking, and I think 20
Mm-hmm.
apartment units, market rate. Erie Road. Agricultural use here for forever. Sometimes with agricultural uses, you do find some level of contamination. We just did a phase 1 here, didn't really find anything, any reason to proceed with the phase 2. That did cost us about $6,000 for that phase 1. expected to leverage 15 million in new property value, and this is of course with the new Nature's Way project here. And they are under construction with that
They
too.
are heavily under construction. It looks really nice out there.
Shipyard, this is definitely taking the lion's share of our grant funds. All in, we've done 4 phase 1 site assessments, 4 phase 2. We've just barely started with remedial action planning, but we are about $63,000 invested so far with our grant funds for these sites. So this includes both the north and south ship slip areas, all the parcels along Broadway, also Badger sheet metal. So a lot of properties included with this, a lot of different levels of contamination. Some sites are dirtier than others. A lot of old industry here, so nothing too terribly unexpected.
Is that phase 1 and phase 2, have those been done on the Badger sheet metal property as well?
Yes. Yep. With this, estimated to leverage about 30 million is our rough estimate in new property values. And of course, we've got some pretty slick renderings so far with that shipyard project. Recently, we were invited to apply for federal grants, the Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership Program, which would fund up to $750,000 toward the shipyard project. You had to apply first through the state, and if you made that cut, then you move on to the federal level. So we made that first cut, so we're pretty hopeful moving forward that we'll be able to secure that grant.
And one more question.
Yeah.
Phase 1 and 2, did those also apply to the north slip?
The North Slip, that was done with the previous grant, actually. So the
Okay, so that is done
2013,
already.
2016, that's finished. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Adams Street lots. This guy right here, we have just finished the phase 1 for this site. The RDA is seeking proposals from developers. We just received 3, actually, and RDA will be considering those proposals here tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Matt, what's the address on that one?
There's quite a few different parcels on this site, actually. The address, what is that?
We're using 200 north.
200 North.
Was that the Shower Schumacher?
No, this is the parking lot by the Bay Lake City Center, across the street from the Cherry Street ramp.
Oh, okay, yep, okay, gotcha,
Yeah, so,
okay.
yeah, we're seeking development here. The developers have submitted mostly mixed use. We'd hope to see apartments, condos, office, retail uses potentially. We've just invested about $1,600 so far in that phase 1. It did recommend moving forward with the phase 2, but we're going to wait and do that until we move a little bit further along with the future developer.
Is that in conjunction with that, like, park type green space on that open lot?
Nope, this would be separate.
Okay.
Moving forward, Firehouse Lofts. This is an old friary building down on Cass and Irwin. We did a phase 1 on this and an asbestos and lead inspection. About $8,500 invested with this site. Phase 1 didn't recommend moving forward with phase 2. Not too many concerns here. Asbestos, a little bit more of a concern, so there will be some abatement necessary with this site. Yeah, these will be, the Friary building will be turned into senior housing, and there will be townhomes built on the eastern side of that site. That's affordable too, right? Or is it a mix of market rate and affordable?
Mix.
Yeah, and we're estimating to leverage about $5 million in new property values here. And our last one, M&M Warehousing. This is on the East River, Cedar Street in Maine, an old warehouse site, cold storage facility. There's potential for new development here, maybe rehabbing these old warehouses into apartments one day possibly. This is really, really early on. We're just getting started on the phase one. I'm not quite sure how much investment this would require. There's not a development proposal on this one as of yet, but it's something that we're looking at moving forward in the future. All in, we are invested. We've invested about 214,000 of our 300,000. That last bullet isn't quite right. We've got 215 almost invested of the 300. So moving right along. Any questions?
Any big projects in the queue? I mean, expected to use the remaining 100,000?
You know, these past few months, we spent a ton on the shipyard. We've just gotten kind of through all those sites, you know, kind of in a holding pattern. We'll probably need to do some supplemental investigation and some additional investment with remedial action planning. So probably that'll be the brunt of upcoming costs.
I think if things go well with the Adam Street lot proposals, I mean, hopefully some funds for the phase two
Yep.
on that will be spent. Yeah, I mean, things have been thankfully very busy. I mean, so we're spending it on projects, and I think, you know, you'll see that they're leading to a return on the investment. I mean, most all of these have development agreements locked up now, or
Right.
will be having some. So it's not just, you know, these one-off projects. I mean, these funds are really going into, you know, real money, real tax value, and I think that bodes really well for us, that we use up all these funds in a shorter amount of time, that when we go back to apply for funds, they're like, yeah, you're leveraging this money, so.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to Matt. I mean, he's really driving this bus, and Wendy and Ken and the team, get these funds out there.
Good job, good report.
Thank you. Ideally, we would love to see more activity along Velp and University Avenue. Those were target areas of this grant application. But really, you know, we focus these funds towards development. So when we know there's a project on the hook, this is when we use these funds. And unfortunately, there just hasn't been as many proposals along those two corridors, but it's something we're working on.
It's tire kicking, but not quite there yet. Probably it's a bad pun for Velp.
Okay, Kevin, I guess you're up.
Thanks. Meeting before us today had redevelopment authority meeting for a public hearing for some actions regarding our tax increment districts and some development projects. We're looking at going back to I-43, adding one parcel in there to help out with the Nature's Way project. We can't consolidate the parcels. Originally, it was one little parcel, 2-acre parcel, wasn't in the TID, so we're asking to put it in the TID so that Nature's Way can consolidate all the parcels into one. We're going to close down TID 17, which is 900 North Broadway. It's a project that's pretty much maxed out. There's no additional new development coming. And then taking action to create 2 new tax increment districts. 20, which is going to be Whitney Park. So to look at Whitney School redevelopment, Whitney Park Townhomes, and 901 Main, which is mentioned here. And then 21, which would be Green Bay Packaging, to help out with their mill and redevelopment of their box plant. So we had a hearing, recommended moving forward with those. We'll be taking action at council later this month to go through with those. Also, just a quick aside, I think I-43, maybe next month, Wendy and Dave Buck and some of our team have been working on what's next for I-43 with the Erie Road expansion, sewer expansion. We're getting to the point where we can look at really expanding the business park. And so they're working on some due diligence about just the proper way to do that. I don't know, pretty excited about the potential that it holds. So probably provide a little bit more of a status update where that's going. So I think we'll put that on a future agenda.
Great.
You know, other than that, just in general, you know, projects are moving along. We had a very good summer. Don't anticipate slowing down. So as Matt said, you know, we've done a lot of brownfields funds on the shipyard. We've got a request for qualifications for consultants out right now to basically get a consultant on board, or team consultants on board, to help, you know, kind of take that conceptual plan we had at the shipyard and move it in, you know, to some design documents that will be ready for construction. But unless there's any other specific programs, projects that I can talk about, I'd be happy to entertain those.
Any questions? Okay, good, great job. You're doing an excellent job, so appreciate your efforts. Next meeting, that I believe is a Wednesday.
Oh, back to the Wednesday schedule.
So,
Yes.
I think we were
is
gonna-
that correct?
No, I think we were gonna try and do Mondays,
Okay.
to accommodate Alderperson Johnson. I think you have P&W on Wednesdays. Or P&W.
Parks and INS.
Parks and INS,
But those meetings
sorry.
seem to be getting switched a lot anyway, so.
Okay. But if everyone is still okay with Mondays, I think we'll look at the next Monday, so we can change that to be the 8th.
Okay. Just wondering.
Thank you. We're still going back and adjusting and sort of clearing the calendar and the dates that come up.
Okay, anything else? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Johnson, second by Genrich. Any
Thanks.
further discussion?
Thanks, Mayor, for the PowerPoint.
No problem.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Carried. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, guys and ladies.
Yeah. Glad you could join us.
Never easy, I just can't walk, but it works.
Yeah, right.
I'll make one of those voting ones, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's what it is, protection policy. I was trying to think of the new piece.
Thing, yeah, that's what
I know,
Does that need to
CW's
be-
just easy, and I don't think that's gonna lose its.
Yeah.
I just